The global game of hockey will feature a North American Championship final at the 2026 Olympic Winter Games. Best on best with Millard and Shannon. It's 100% hockey. Ken Hitchcock will join us in just a little bit. But it's the final that everybody wanted. And we do have Canada-US for the third time in this NHL era.
It's what everybody in North America wanted. I'm not sure the Finns wanted it, or the Czechs, or the Slovaks, or the Swedes. But yes, everybody who listens to this podcast we've been pointing to this since the Four Nations ended a year ago, and it is going to be spectacular. You know, it's funny. You know, there are so many storylines with Canada versus the United States right now, not only on the ice, but historically. You know, Sunday is February 22nd. February 22nd, 1980, Miracle on Ice. You know, that's what happened for the Americans and the growth of the game. 30 years ago this year, Canada and the United States played a best of three final in the World Cup. And I've talked to lots of friends that I have in the United States, many talk about how the 96 victory by the United States over Canada inspired them and inspired generations even more than Lake Placid did. You know, and two of the guys that were involved in that, Keith Tkachuk and Bill Guerin, who were players on that team. It is exactly what we all designed, what we wrote up, just like 2002, as you said, Daren, just like 2010. It is something to behold on Sunday, early Sunday morning, wherever you are in North America.
I haven't looked at any of the numbers from the sports books here in Vegas. But do you have in your gut a feeling of who should be considered the favorite on Sunday?
I would not be surprised to see the Americans be favored. And one of the reasons is that we're not going to see Sidney Crosby one way or the other. Either we're not going to see him play, or we're not going to see him at 100%. So you have to wonder what kind of factor that is for Canada. You know, Canada did not play a great game against the Finns because the Finns just sat back and sat back and sat back, and everything was from the outside. And only when they got more aggressive in the second half of the game did the temperature change and the opportunities change. So it's one of those things where I would not be surprised, and I'm not into the gambling world, Daren. I would not be surprised. But in your gut,
who do you think?
Canada. I do. I think Canada's high-end players, and that means Connor McDavid, Cale Makar. You know, I don't think anybody in the United States, I don't think there's any American player like Connor McDavid. There is a player like Cale Makar. Quinn Hughes is spectacular. The American defense is so good. But you know, I maybe I'm becoming a little too patriotic, but I just see that smidge of an edge for Canada on Sunday.
It's the ultimate pick 'em, isn't it? Based on what these teams have done.
It might be. Yeah, it certainly might be. And the road that both of them have taken, dare I say, and I know that in the quarterfinal they both went to overtime against their opponent, Canada against the Czechs and the Americans against the Swedes. But I would tell you that the Canadians had a much tougher road than the United States has had so far. Don't you think?
Well, I wonder if and we'll get Ken's opinion on this, but after playing Finland and being pushed to the edge and having survived an overtime game in the quarterfinal against the Czech Republic, two very different styles of opponents, Will Canada feel a little freer Sunday playing their game style that they're accustomed to?
I think they will. You know, and the fascination is that John Cooper in the game against the Finns put Brad Marchand with Sam Bennett and Tom Wilson, and they made an impact. And you have to wonder if he's going to keep those three guys together as their version of the grind line, right? You know, we've seen this before in NHL play. It's shades of Cal Clutterbuck, Matt Martin, and Casey Cizikas as the fourth line for the Islanders for all those years. Somebody that can go and take the body. And we know there will be a different attitude playing against the Americans than there would be against the Czechs or the Finns. And I would suggest that the same would go for the Americans versus Canada. You know, Brady and Matthew are going to be on the edge of insanity and play their best hockey. You know that. This is what these guys have dreamed about for a year. This is what they've all talked about when we get them again. And Canada, the Canadian guys, the same thing. Now they can't fight. You know, that's not going to be the issue. They can't do that.
Yeah, you can't fight and stay in the game, right?
Correct. You can fight, but you know you're going to, and then you know if it's going to affect, not that anybody would care, but it's going to affect even beyond these things. If they say, well, you can't play at the next World Championships or you can't play in the next Olympics, right? Now Olympics are 4 years away, so that's a long way away. But at the same time, there are ramifications if you do this on the international level. So we didn't see it. We didn't have a shot of the commissioner in the stands in Milan, but I would suggest he has a broad smile on his face after that one and the matchup that's going to occur on Sunday.
Most pressure is on who? We'll get into that as we continue on 100% Hockey, but Ken Hitchcock will join us next, see where he sees things lining up on this gold medal final between Canada and the United States. The bronze medal game will be between Finland and Slovakia on Saturday. Back with Ken on 100% Hockey, best on best with Millard and Shannon.
NHL TV is now on DAZN. Hockey lives here. Watch every game from every team. The best players in the world. And the coldest plays on ice. Watch up to 4 games at once for the ultimate NHL experience. Sign up now at DAZN.
Like we normally do when we welcome in Ken Hitchcock to 100% Hockey, best on best with Millard and Shannon. Kind of just want your overall first impressions about what you saw between the Canada comeback and the American domination.
Well, two different teams, obviously, that you play against, and Canadians stayed with it again. Americans they outclassed the Slovaks by quite a bit. Thing for me is that Canada's played 2 teams in a row that back up and play 5 back. And that takes a lot of energy to play against that type of system. And we'll see what they got left for the final game. But that takes a lot out of you, boy, when you're grinding like that every time just to get it in and keep it. And they've had 2 games like that now.
How did they manage without Sid, Ken?
I thought they did okay. I mean, he had to play a shorter bench than normal, John, but I thought they did okay. But you can sure tell the moxie that Sid has, that he brings to the group, and that was missing a little bit. Came on later on, but I got to tell you guys, I don't like watching the games like this because 5 back is a different way of playing. That's why I'm so happy that it's Canada, USA in the final, because you're going to see a real NHL game played played the NHL way, and that's going to be really exciting for me.
I'll say it. The Finns didn't deserve to win that hockey game the way that they played or strategized the second and the third periods. They didn't even try and score, Ken. I don't understand it.
Well, we don't understand that logic because that was the same way that the Czechs played too. So you're right, Daren. We don't understand that logic. That's not the way we're brought up. That's not the game we play. And that's why the American-Canadian game is going to be so impressive, not only from a game standpoint, but for the game of ice hockey, because that's the way we think we should play is everybody puts pressure on each other and sees who folds. And we just played 2 games where the team that played against us was backing up all the time.
Just for a frame of reference, after the Eric Howla goal, the shots on goal were 29-8 for Canada in the last 36 minutes of the game. Is this as you said, we saw the Czechs do it, we saw the Finns do it, we've seen Europeans do this a ton of times. Is this the residue of the big ice, Ken? That you can do it much better? I mean, this is a regular NHL-sized rink. It changes the game, doesn't it?
This is the attitude of playing for 1-0. And you get a lead and you sit back, and that's just the way it's been like that forever. And I think, quite frankly, guys, it's got to change. I think there has to be a new way of playing if you're a European team. And who knows, it's going to take some adjustments, but who knows until you start putting pressure on the other team. Like Canada had no up-ice pressure in the last 2 periods. They had none against them. And yet the Finns almost won the hockey game. But you got to admit, guys, it doesn't make for great hockey.
No.
It makes for it makes for excitement because of the score, but it's not really a high energy game.
I've speculated that in 2030, when the Olympic Games return, or in a World Cup in 2 years, these Scandinavian nations or European nations will be far more influenced with NHL coaching on its side. Do you think it'll track that way based on what we've witnessed here in Milano?
I don't know. I've thought about that. Like, the only way you're going to get it to change is you got to bring an NHL coach onto your bench.
Right.
And you got to have him run the practices because I'm not sure how that's going to change, but I think it should change. I think the time is now for becoming a more aggressive sport. It's more exciting. I think the fans get into it a little bit more, and I don't know. I've seen and coached in so many games, like I've seen in the last few games that Canada's played in, that you get frustrated by it, and that's what they're counting on. They're going to frustrate the heck out of you.
Well, and that may be the story of these 2 games. In many ways, Ken, is that Canada kept its composure, didn't they?
Yes, and the other thing that they did was they didn't they didn't change from the game plan. They still stayed with the game plan that was there, but this is how you get different type of champions in Europe, because the lead is everything. If the Finns don't have the lead, it's a different game. If the Czechs don't have the lead, it's a different game. But they get the lead and they're going to defend it they could defend it for 50 minutes. And that's the way it goes. And you're just going to, until somebody goes in and changes the style of coaching. Like, this is not the way the Czech junior team plays.
No.
They're all here. So you're hoping that breed comes in. I am personally hoping that breed comes into the game now, and that you see a more aggressive game in both ends of the rink.
So where do you fall here? Because Canada owned the semifinal against Finland, but yet needed some good fortune to come back and win the hockey game. So was it the shots on goal side that you say Canada was far better, or they were fortunate to win it late?
I think they were fortunate to win it late, and that's a tough pill for me personally to swallow, because they dominated the game in the last 2/3 of the game, but they couldn't score the goal to bring it close and make the Finns open up, and so that was at times agitating and aggravating for me. But all in all, now all I'm thinking about right now is now we get to see a real National Hockey League game, and there is a difference between the two teams that are going to play. To me, those games against the Finns and Czechs, they're over. Now it's preparing for the Americans, and you got two really good NHL caliber teams, but two teams that play a completely different game.
What did you make of the Americans' way they managed the Slovaks?
Well, I thought the game was over after the first 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. They dominated the game. Americans can do that. Their mobility and creativity on the back end is second to none, and they're gonna be a really tough nut for Canada, because they really get the job done on the back end.
Mike, your mic. Daren, your mic.
We'll come back. Yeah, I got it. We'll come back with more with Best on Best with Ken Hitchcock on 100% Hockey.
Car shopping should be exciting, not exhausting. That's where Car Gurus comes in. They have advanced search tools, unbiased deal ratings, and price history, so you know a great deal when you see one. It's no wonder that Car Gurus is the #1 rated car shopping app in Canada. When you're car shopping on your phone, it shouldn't be a maze. You need to see all the information. With the Car Gurus app, you can. Powerful search tools that you see deal ratings, price history, and dealer reviews on listings all in one place. And you can turn on real-time price drop alerts so you never miss a great deal. Car Gurus connects you with trusted dealerships when you're ready, ensuring a transparent, hassle-free buying process. Buy your next car today at cargurus.ca. Make sure your deal is the best deal. That's cargurus.ca. cargurus.ca.
What makes that defense of Team USA so difficult?
Interchange of positions. They're really good at reading off each other, interchange of positions, hiding on the ice. They got 5 guys in there that are really good that way, and that's hard to defend. You're in position, but there's nobody in there to check. The guy's somewhere else. He's near the net. He's behind the net. He's in the far corner. It'll be. I'm really interested to see how the Canadians defend this. Because the Americans are really, they didn't have 3 of these top players in the tournament, so that could be the big equalizer too. So you don't know until the games get played, but this is going to be a real challenge for Canada, for me.
You're talking about there was no Quinn Hughes, no Charlie McAvoy in the championship game of 4 Nations, and those 2 guys they have big roles on this hockey club at this point. So that's a
and no Tkachuk either.
Right, but let me ask you this: you talk about the American defense. Is there a way you need to be more physical against the American defense as opposed to allowing them to move and skate? And so does a guy like Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand, Tom Wilson, do they become bigger factors in Sunday's game?
I think everyone has to decide. The skill level is about as even as you can get if you take a whole look at the whole concept of the team, forwards, D, center, whatever. I think the Canadians have to check better than they've ever checked in their life if they expect to win the hockey game. And they're capable of it. And if they put their mind into that, that's going to be, to me, the difference. But if they don't check, they're going to let the Americans turn loose. They're going to give them room and space, and that's going to be a big advantage for the Americans.
What do you mean? Can you be more specific about if they don't check or how they check?
Well, everything to me is how much time and space can we take away? Mm-hmm. So for the first time, we've got to do this stuff because of their back end. And we've got to have to check like crazy and not allow those defensemen to get up ice, to look up ice, to skate with the puck up ice, to headline in transition. We got to take that all away from them.
Who's the faster team?
Americans, to me, were faster in Four Nations. So I thought the Americans were the quickest team in the tournament at Four Nations. Canada was best in the down-low game, the in-zone game. But I thought the Americans were the quickest team. And we'll see in the next 48 hours.
So you want a strong forecheck, an aggressive forecheck from Canada in the gold medal game?
Yeah, I want to see how hard Canada can check. Mm-hmm. And I think the harder they check, the more advantage it's going to be for Canada.
Coming out of the pool play, coming out of the pool play, Canada was on a roll. The Americans were finding their game, and Canada would have been the better team. We all agreed on that. Where are you right now? Because the Americans appear to have found their stride, and Canada's had to rescue a couple.
Americans needed overtime to beat the Swedes. So I don't know that they both have played at a high level. The Canadians have had to come against that five-man back quite a bit. So that's been hard for them. But, these are two really good teams. But one team needs to play one way and one team needs to play the other. And like I said, the Americans are really defined on the back end of how they want to play. And we've got to take that away from them, in my opinion.
You are always talk about emotion. You talk about character and a team gelling. You have been part of a coaching staff, Canada, United States, in Salt Lake City. So one of the games was in America. Canada, United States, in Vancouver. One of the games was in Canada. Where does this rivalry sit for you, Canada versus the United States?
Oh, it's right at the top of the heap. It's one of the best rivalries in all of sport, period. And you got two even teams going at it. You're going to see this for years now. This is going to be a rivalry that goes on for year after year after year. And it's great for the game. But to me, we always felt like we had more moxie than the Americans at times. We had more gamesmanship. That's not the way it is now. Both teams have a lot of players that have lots of gamesmanship, and that's what makes it so fascinating and interesting now.
Can you speak to the patriotism that you felt in Salt Lake and in Vancouver?
I really felt it in Salt Lake, and it was very emotional for us. The players really kept a lid on the emotion until the end of the game, but it was it's a big deal. Like playing in the gold medal final, it's a big deal, guys. And I've been in 3 of them, and it's a really, really big deal. And you find out how big it is when you go back home and you find out that every person that you ever knew was watching the game. And we're about to find that out again, even at 5 in the morning.
At 5 in the morning for you, Ken. I love that. To that point, was there the third game was Canada versus Sweden in Sochi in 2014. Was there a difference in the 2 Canada-USA games versus the Canada-Sweden game for you?
I thought we had control of the Canadian-Sweden game early in the game and just flexed our muscles. I don't think we had control of the American game until halfway through the game. So to me, it took longer to get our grips on the game against the Americans than it did against the Swedes.
Canada wins. Why?
There's a difference between emotion and intensity. Emotion is a wasted energy that gets wasted very early in the contest. And so you burn out quick. Intensity is the second and third effort that we're going to need in order to negate what the American strength is. That's what we're going to need. We're going to need that level of intensity, that second and third effort on checking if we expect to win. And if we do that, we're going to win.
Okay, here's what scares me then. Brady Tkachuk, Tom Wilson. That scares me. You know, which one will act with emotion and which one will act with intensity?
Well, just what needs to happen is everybody just get out of the way and let the players decide now. Just get out of the way. I mean, this is going to be a hell of an event. Just get out of the way and let it happen.
I want to go down a path with you, but before we get there, and you just said players, they control it now. Everybody else get out of the way. But how much coaching are you doing between now and Sunday on both sides?
Very little.
So not a lot of video, not a lot of...
No, you don't want to overkill this within you. You don't want to go on information overload right now. Let them gather their own thoughts, let them be together, and let them play.
So Canada wins. Why? The Americans win gold. How?
Canada wins when they negate time and space every shift. The Americans win if their defense get loose on the blue line.
And players in trying to stop that in the Canadian defensive zone, got to be careful not to over pursue, don't you? Like that's the biggest downfall.
You can't get puck staring. You can't get focused on the puck because somebody's coming down the back door, somebody's coming over the top of you. You got to have great awareness, great composure and awareness.
The wild card in all this between now and Sunday morning in North America is Sidney Crosby.
No. The wild card is the goalies.
Okay. But I mean, based on what we've seen,
players get hurt, John. And as tough as it is with Sid out there, we've got good players. But this is the wild card to me are the goalies. And this is when you bank on Binner. If you're a Canadian and you know how good he is in big games, and Hellebuck wants a kick at the prize here. So this is going to be fascinating also.
And it feels like a pick-em if you're putting the goaltenders on the ultimate stage. Do you see it that way?
I see it as Binner's going to have to be as good as he's ever been in his life. He's going to have to be that good.
Mm-hmm. So I won't go ahead, Ken. Sorry.
Hellebuck the same way. I think goaltending is going to be a big factor here.
Not to beat a dead horse, I want to go back to Sid here, just from the point of view, because you're dressing an extra forward. Do you risk dressing him because of the intangibles he brings? Is that something to contemplate?
John, players get hurt. Players get missing. They're missing. Maybe Thompson's out for them. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But all I'm saying is you cannot spend any ounce of energy on who's not playing. Everything's about who's playing, not who's not playing. And we don't need any cheerleaders. We need everybody all focused, all in. And to me, as badly as we need a guy like Sid in the lineup, we need somebody in that lineup that can take his place if he can't play. So it's about who's in, not about who's out.
I was thinking the same thing, John, because of that extra forward position. Can you lean into that a little bit if he's only 70% or 80%? I don't know what that number is.
Then the question is if, let's say, for the sake of argument, it's either Bo Horvat or Nick Suzuki as a centerman. If they're at 100%, are they better than Sid at 70? And I think the answer is probably yes, because these are all elite players, right, Ken? These are all first liners, every one of these guys.
Yeah, you can't have a guy playing at 60 or 70% in a game like this. It's too rich.
Do the Finns have any argument on the goalie interference play on the Theodore goal?
Not really. I mean, that's a goal all night in hockey.
Mm-hmm. The whole the fascination with the video review at the Olympics is that there is no situation room. So in the last minute of play of the 3 periods and in overtime, video review is still up to the coach. There's no situation.
Like the challenge part.
There's no, they have to challenge at the Olympics. Mm-hmm. It's completely on the coaches. So if you do it too early, you run the risk.
So I wonder why they didn't challenge on that play if they were so emphatic, the players, and it sounds like the coaching staff after the game, why they didn't challenge that.
I don't know. Coaching, there is still a bit of difference of coaching international hockey versus in the NHL, right, Ken?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, a big difference.
So we've waited a year for this, and there's a lot of things that could have interfered. They could have met in the quarterfinals or the semifinals, but we get the ultimate game, Canada-US. It's kind of like the hockey gods are on board with it. Do you have a gut feeling, Ken?
Yeah, I think we're going to be playing overtime.
3-on-3 overtime until somebody scores. There's no shootout in the gold medal final, but it is 3-on-3.
Yeah, I think we're going to be playing overtime.
We haven't talked about too many individual players, but the number one guy on Canada for ice time was Macklin Celebrini. Yeah. That if I would have told you that before the tournament started, you would have said, "Yeah, no, that's not really possible. There's going to be other guys," but he really and he was relentless today, Ken. He was relentless.
Well, I live out this way, and I watch him play all the time, so. And everything he's doing is not surprising me, to be honest with you. He's that good. I mean,
I wasn't sure they could do it. He could do it in a best on best scenario as much as he's done.
Yeah, top players who get to another level when it's on the line. They know the sense of timing. Mm-hmm. This is going to be fascinating. This is going to be really interesting because as much as Canada's going to be watching, there's going to be a lot of people in the U.S. watching too. So you got a captive audience, and I hope it's a great game. Obviously, I'm cheering for one country, but I hope it's a great game because it's going to do nothing but advance our sport to another level.
It will be fascinating to watch, and with the political climate that exists between the two countries right now, this is just another way to poke the bear either way.
Ken, did you see Gretz and Mess sitting in the stands? They looked like they could hardly watch at times.
Yeah, it's the most helpless position in the world. I hate it. I can't stand it.
How do you coach it then? How do you coach it?
Get off this podcast and get ready for the game.
All right. You got 36 hours to prep, man.
I know, but it's a terrible feeling when you're a coach and you got no control over anything. It's a terrible feeling.
5 a.m. Pacific time is the gold medal game. 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll all be glued to it. Canada, U.S. It's the game we've all wanted. Hitch, enjoy it, and we'll talk to you after the final.
Okay, take care, guys.
Be good. We'll be back with more 100% Hockey with Millard and Shannon. It's best on best.
With the NHL app, you can listen to every NHL game right from your phone. And with home and away broadcast feeds, you choose your way to listen.
And he scores!
Whether you're at work, at the gym, or stuck in traffic, the NHL app puts you right in the action all season long. Every team, every game, everywhere you go. Download the NHL app and never miss a moment.
I like that. Ken had some fire today.
It was good. It's good. And the Crosby stuff's important to think about. And I'm, that's going to be a long, hard discussion with everybody. If Sid can dress and play at 70%, is he worth it? I think that's a question that people will ask.
What percent do you put him in the lineup? Like 60, no. 70, no. 80, I'm thinking about it, but probably no.
Right. I'm with you, Daren. I mean, he has to be able to.
Based on Ken, what Ken's talking, I maybe 75. I would have put him in before listening to what Ken had to say.
Yeah, I just, this goes back to the other centers that they have on this club are elite players. Are they Sidney Crosby? No, but Bo Horvat and Nick Suzuki, Sam Bennett. They're all very good players. They're on this team for a reason because of their expertise. So I just don't, unless he says, I'm ready to go, I'm never missing a shift, I can do it. And if he says he can do it, then you play him. But
it's his last Olympic game. He's not coming back at 42.
Right. Well, I agree with you, but nothing this guy ever does surprises me. If he comes back, maybe he's the coach or the manager, just like Gretz was.
But to that point, like there's more going on than just the one game. You asked a question before we went to break the last time. Before Hitch came on, you said, "Who's the pressure on?" I want to throw something at you, and this is not necessarily for hockey fans, but this is for Canadian sports fans. I will tell you right now, after Megan Keller scored that goal on Thursday for the Americans to win the gold medal in women's hockey, which was a hell of a goal, by the way, disappointing for Canadians, exhilarating for Americans. What a move. Yeah. The Hillary Knight deflection is one of the best deflections I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was good. Good, almost as good as Nick Suzuki's the other day. But I think if you're just a pure Canadian fan saying, "Oh my God, we lost to the Americans in women's hockey. We can't lose to the Americans in men's hockey too. We can't." Not that the players would feel that pressure, but I think across the Great White North, I think there was a ton of pressure to get to the gold medal game, which made the game against Finland even more stressful for Canadian hockey fans until Nathan MacKinnon scored the goal. I mean, as I said, what Canada did on the women's side was heroic. To be within 2 minutes of winning a game on it with a team that they probably didn't deserve to be that close, but they played a great game. But just that whole, when you think about the patriotism, when you think about the politics, when you think about Canada versus USA, when you think about how the women on both sides have made this hockey tournament their own since 1998, I just felt that there was a ton of pressure in amongst Canadian hockey fans to say, "Oh my God, we can't lose. We can't lose to the Americans." On the men's side too, that would be horrific for Canadians. Would it be great for Americans? Sure, absolutely, be fantastic. It shows the growth of the game in both countries. But I can tell you, the emotional roller coaster in this country today. Was as good as any roller coaster you'll ever ride at any amusement park. MacKinnon,
McDavid, Binnington, McCarr. On the other side, you've got the
Kachuk's. Celebrini.
No, I don't know whether he fits this category, but Kachuk's, Matthews, Hellebuck, individually on each side. Is there an athlete that has more riding on their shoulders? I look at it, Austin Matthews, the goaltenders, they're wild cards. I'm with Hitch on that. But the skaters, like Matthews, this is kind of like a moment for him to be able to win the big one and have a part in the big one. McDavid, same thing. He's been closer to a Stanley Cup but hasn't won in a couple of times. He's been great in the tournament. I wonder, like, or the Tkachuks, the legacy, McKinnon, like who can define themselves?
Oh, 97 for sure. When you consider what the last 2.5 years have been for Connor McDavid, as Matthew Tkachuk reminded Leon Draisaitl during the USA-Germany game, always the bridesmaid. And you
Do you think he'll say that to Connor tomorrow or on Sunday?
Rest assured, that will be the voice of authority to Connor McDavid on Sunday. You know, you can't win the big one, Connor. You know, though the boys aren't afraid to chirp. You know that. They're not afraid to say anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm Matthew, I'm going there in the gold medal game.
Well, it'll be fascinating to see. I just think that, and the other part of this is, if in following Connor with the two Stanley Cup Finals, in reading what he wrote in the Players Tribune, he has placed himself right in the middle of this, and I think he will feel the responsibility, particularly if Sid's not there. I think he will feel the responsibility, and it will weigh on him terribly if they lose. I really do. I just think that, I think you know him well enough. I think I know him well enough to know exactly what's going through his mind and what will be going through his mind from now until puck drop on Sunday.
Who's Team USA's most important player?
I'm going to leave the goalies out of it because Hitch kind of said that.
Fair.
Quinn Hughes. I think Quinn Hughes has been the MVP. I think people in Vancouver and now people in Minnesota understand what his value is. I think Quinn Hughes has been a dynamo for that hockey club and really drives so much of, maybe the offense from the defense. And so I think that it's Quinn Hughes, and so I think it's going to be Quinn Hughes against Connor McDavid. I think those are the two storylines for me. Is because on TV we always want simplicity. One guy and one guy. Connor McDavid, Quinn Hughes, two of the best players in the game, and there's a good chance they're going to be on the ice a lot together, right? There's going to be a good chance they're on the ice together.
I think this really does load up on Austin Matthews in a big way. If win or lose, right? But to have a performance, and I'm just going to say this, right? Jack Eichel continues to impress in these big games. He doesn't get the attention that the Hughes or the Matthews or some of these other players have in this tournament. But that if I'm looking at a guy to take control of it for Team USA, it's Jack Eichel.
And this is where you have to give Mike Sullivan credit, I think, Daren, for him just to be adamant about Eichel with the Tkachuks. I mean, I think that's and people are going to say, well, it's easy to do. Yeah, but he stuck with it. And remember, that's not how the tournament started last year. They didn't start playing. They weren't playing together in the first game. They have those three, because I think that Eichel makes those two guys better and keeps them a little focused as well. I think I don't disagree with the Eichel storyline. Jack Eichel has proved to be one of the elite players of our time. What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at the way you painted that, like Eichel keeping control of the Tkachuks. Yeah. I had this thought of Reg Dunlop talking to the Hanson brothers. That was the first thing that came to my mind was Paul Newman talking to the Hansons, like, guys.
Well,
and then Eichel turning on and going, they brought their toys.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, can I explain something? Because there's been a lot of people rolling their eyes, particularly once we started to talk about the gold medal game and the fact that it starts at 8:00 in the East in North America, 5:00 in the West in North America. As much as we're living and dying with the hockey tournament, living and dying with Canada versus USA, they are a piece of the Olympic puzzle. And for all the nations that have been involved in the Olympic Winter Games, the most important thing are the closing ceremonies on Sunday. So if there's 85 countries at the Olympics, there are 83 of them that are saying, when are the closing ceremonies? So everything has to be back-timed for the closing ceremonies, and particularly with the European games, European-based games, so that they are in prime time in Europe. And that's why the game is an afternoon game in Milan as opposed to a night game.
4 o'clock local, right?
Pardon me?
4 o'clock local, right?
2
o'clock.
2 o'clock local. 2 o'clock local. Because what you have to do is you have to put the game on. Then you also have to budget for medal ceremonies. Because after the gold medal game on Sunday, Canada and the United States are going to get medals. And that's going to take time too. And that doesn't even count if overtime, as Hitch has predicted, takes place. That's why it is an early game, an afternoon game for the world, and early morning for us in North America, because it's all based on when the closing ceremonies are. Nothing happens after. Once the closing ceremonies start, the games are basically over. So that's why they have an afternoon game for the gold medal game. Daren, you remember what time the gold medal game started in Vancouver?
Noon
Pacific time. Yeah. Because
pretty good memory, isn't it?
Yeah, well, pretty good for an old man. Yeah,
it's up there.
Yeah.
I can remember stuff from 20 years ago, but I can't remember yesterday.
Yeah. So I just wanted to explain that, because a lot of people.
And the Olympic men's final is the last event of the games, right?
Yes, totally.
Like in hockey.
The hockey gold medal game for men is the last event at the Olympics. Yes. Mm-hmm. So that's just the lay of the land Olympics. It's not going to change ever. That's the reality of how the Olympics and the IOC build their schedules.
Canada, U.S. gold medal game, and then Slovakia and Finland coming up on Saturday in the bronze medal game. Finland won the bronze in Vancouver, and I was able to do that game. I've never seen a happier group receive medals than that group of Timo Solani and company. It was amazing.
Well, I'm not going to one-up you, but I was involved in the Beijing Games in 2022, and the Slovaks won the bronze medal. Mm-hmm. And it was 17-year-old Juraj Slabkovsky that was a big part of them winning the bronze medal. And I would tell you there was no group happier to win the bronze medal than the Slovaks. It was unbelievable. There's still a famous shot, I've never forgotten this, in the mix zone, which is the interview area underneath the stands where everybody walks through to their dressing rooms, of Slabkovsky biting his bronze medal that every nation used on their broadcast, because it was such a cool moment for this kid. And he had braces on. So you
shouldn't be doing that.
Well, it's his. He won it. He can do whatever he wants. So what's your gut? Tell me Sunday. What's your gut?
Boy, I don't have a feeling one way or the other. I'm concerned about the last two results for Canada.
Why?
But just because they had to chase so much. Now, they allowed the first goal back in 2002 in Salt Lake City. I remember that because I had to scalp my ticket to get in. And as I was walking to my seat, Mike Bradley and I, the American scored, and I thought, what have I just done? Spent $1,000 American on that ticket. I don't know. It could go either way. I'm cheering for Canada. That's my allegiance, right? But I feel like the Americans they flipped the script. They're very much a Canadian style of hockey, and I admire them for that.
It's funny. I was trying to do a little bit of research. When you look at Jake Sanderson, Brady Tkachuk, Connor Hellebuck, Austin Matthews. What do they have in common?
Tell me.
They're Americans playing on Canadian NHL teams. And so they will feel the wrath or the celebration and be able to enjoy it that much more. Those four guys.
Okay, you said we can't talk about certain stats in an NHL Olympic tournament compared to a non-Olympic tournament. Why would that matter, that guys are playing on Canadian teams?
Well, I'll tell you what.
A bunch of Canadians play for American teams.
Yeah, no, I know, but I think, honestly, I think that we're more passionate about the game here than they are overall in the United States, because we're passionate about it 365, 24/7.
Yeah, that's our NFL.
And America's passionate about the Olympics and not necessarily about the NHL. I'd love them to be more passionate about the NHL on a regular basis. I'd love it.
Listening to sports talk radio in the United States, national shows, they're all talking about hockey.
Well, and this is where a year later, we're still, the residue of Four Nations is paid off, because now we have context. Now there's context. Four Nations, Olympic Games. World Cup 2 years from now, Daren, it's going to be spectacular. So there's lots of positives. We're going in the right direction finally, I think. We've sputtered for the last 25 years. No World Cup, and then we wait 8 years. There's no momentum. Unfortunate that the NHLers didn't go to South Korea and didn't go to Beijing for very valid reasons. But we now appear to have created the proper level of momentum. Started with Four Nations, these Olympics, a World Cup coming. Hopefully there will be an agreement in place to go, and I can't see why there wouldn't be, to go to France for the 2030 games. So finally you feel we're going in the right direction.
I don't feel like we've sputtered for 25 years.
Oh, we have.
It's a long time to sputter.
Well, so let me take you back to, and it's not just international hockey, it's gaining recognition at another level. 1994, the New York Rangers won the Stanley Cup, right? Mm-hmm. What did we do within 3 months?
Yeah, and they were
okay. So
the perception was the NHL had passed the NBA at that point.
Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
Why the NHL's hot and the NBA's not? So 1994 it happened. We did a World Cup in 2004. What happened the next day? September the 15th, 2004.
Work
stopping. After the success of 2014, TJ Oshie has become a star, and they talk about TJ Oshie. TJ Oshie's team didn't get a medal in 2014, and then he's still a star. And then we didn't go in 2018, and we didn't go in 2022, and then we had a 2016 World Cup, but we invented two countries to have a World Cup. I just feel finally we're at a place where the players and the owners and the commissioner and the IHF and the IOC are all pulling in the right direction for all of us. And I think that that's a big part of why this has become so satisfying.
2016 World Cup gave some people ideas about inventing countries and moving borders, didn't it?
Shh, don't go there.
Okay.
This is, we're not political on this podcast.
No, we're not. But it just kind of felt similar. That's all.
That's all right. Daren Millard saying all that. That's not me.
It was just an observation is all. I'm not saying it's a good observation or a point that we want to follow up on by any means or extend. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's going to be an uneasy next couple of days. I'm going to just take a back seat and just not text, not poke the bear in my neighborhood, my circle of friends down here.
Yeah, don't wear your Canada sweater down the street walking the dog.
No, I did that yesterday, though. I admit, I did that yesterday.
You poked the bear yesterday. Okay.
Yeah, I was leaning into it. Now the next game is against my neighbors. I'm not doing that. I just want to. If we win, I'll humbly celebrate, as opposed to you up on that rooftop waving the flag.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm sitting here with all my friends watching the games, and I don't get emotionally involved that way. The only thing I will do is when the medals go around their neck, I'll probably cry.
Yeah,
and it'll probably be if an American gets the medal or a Canadian gets the medal.
If you were invited out to a watch party of some kind where you could have access to the screen and you wouldn't be distracted, would you go and watch with a bunch of people?
Not a chance.
Yeah, I'm right with you. Plus, it's 5 a.m. I'll be doing well just to get to the living room.
What a Waffle House! It's got to be a Waffle House close by.
No TVs though.
Oh,
might go to Yard House. That's good times.
I will just be here with all my friends.
We'll talk to you tomorrow after the bronze medal game between Slovakia and Finland. More tee-up as far as the gold medal championship final of Olympic men's hockey between Canada and the United States. It's what we hoped we would get here in North America, and it's arrived. Thanks to Ken Hitchcock for joining us, Human Clarity for producing us. Talk to you next time on 100% Hockey, Best on Best with Millard and Shannon.